Hey guys, and welcome back to Making Spirituality Real with Jade. Today, as you can see, we have new gear, and this is all thanks to the new subscribers and the new viewers that I have had recently on my channel, and I would like to thank you all very much for that, for trusting in me and subscribing and liking my videos and joining in with my work. It's very important to me to have the reception of the people that I work for and that I'm trying to help. So again, thank you guys so much, and as you can see, any support that you give me, I use it to put it forward more towards my work and improving the quality of my work as much as I can. So today we're going to be going back into my peace of mind corner, and I'm going to be talking briefly about how I have become a conscious consumer of mostly as much as possible organic products. So I know that a lot of people struggle with the process because of several reasons. One of which is that they believe they can't afford it, which I hope that I'm going to disprove in this video. And maybe because also they don't know how to do it with their own lives, how to apply it practically, and also because they expect too much of themselves and they put too much pressure on themselves. And by telling you about my journey, I hope that I can show you a little bit better how actually that works out in reality. So immediately starting with the first point that I've mentioned here is talking about the fact that there is this very widespread belief that taking care of your choices as a consumer has to be tied to a very expensive lifestyle, and this is absolutely not true. As you can see, if you look around my background, I live in a small studio, and I am hardly loaded enough to really afford an expensive or luxurious lifestyle, and I come from an even more humble background than what you can see right now, and yet I have done it. How? So growing up, I basically had nothing, and by nothing I mean that I was raised by a struggling single mother who was mostly getting everything that she could get from me secondhand, because this was the reality of what she could afford. And growing up, I mostly have seen my peers go on holidays and get things for themselves, while I would have to satisfy myself with whatever the secondhand could offer me. And sometimes when I was very little, I would complain about it like children who don't understand life do. And that has led me to a belief that I will never actually obtain anything from my family the way the other kids do, which was not entirely false. And which is why I went to work at a very early age. And by that, I don't mean flipping a couple burgers over the summer. I mean, since I was 16, since it became legal to work, I worked every day after school. I was taking care of my own education, going to my own school, and then right after school, I would go tutor other kids, which was my first job, my first means of making money. So basically at this point I was doing all my homework and all my school reading in public transportation, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to keep on with my own work. And since I was 16, basically I was doing work study and having 14-hour days. And this was honestly the only way that I could get anything. And still, 16-year-old kids, they don't get paid that much. So whatever I had left, I used it to buy myself a couple of t-shirts at the cheapest possible store. And this is how it went for a couple of years until I grew up and I started to earn more. As I grew up and came into more independence and into slightly more money, but it was still only slightly more, not that much of a fortune, I basically accumulated some money to change my entire clothing style, aka got rid of all the ugly secondhands that I had no control over, that I was forced to wear my whole life. And I just went to a regular fast fashion store, because this is what I could afford, to just get myself what I could get. And I'm not saying this was a mistake at the time, because it was part of the journey, but it's not something that I would have done right now, it's just not the choice that I would have made right now. I think that I was a little drunk on the fact that I could get myself anything, because I was so starved to be able to wear something that I have picked, not something that my great aunt has worn, that I just threw myself at the first possible opportunity, because to me, even the fast fashion stores were the height of luxury back at the time. However, most of these clothes that I would buy didn't stick. The reason for that being is that when I started buying them, I was still a teenager. And I know that it depends on the person. And some people stop growing at the age of 13, but I still keep growing taller compared to when I was 16, and the way I am right now. There's like at least a 3-inch difference. So naturally, I couldn't wear the clothes that I used to wear anymore. And so I was gradually thinning through even those new things that I bought for myself. And as I grew and I got over the phase of choking on the fact that I could even get something for myself, I started to really consider my choices. Of course, when I was buying something in the first place, I had some sort of taste preferences. You can say so, you can even call it that. But I noticed that I was really feeling bad. I was feeling bad because I was buying just to satisfy the fear and the urge that I had, to satisfy the consciousness that I can buy something. So I wasn't really looking at my best interest as in what is really good for me, or what does really become me, what is really appropriate for me, and what works for my best interest. I was mostly just really drunk on the fact that I could get anything at all, which is, I guess, is normal when you have nothing, for such a long time, and you suddenly get something. You're like, oh my god. And so this is where I started to pay attention to the quality of the clothes that I was getting, and I realized that essentially everything I own is not really something that I would like to have on myself. And before I even realized it consciously, I subconsciously could feel the discomfort with some of the new things I bought, even like without me realizing. I was like, okay, this is new, I just bought it, it fits my body, what's the problem? Well, the problem and the discomfort was that it was not in line with my priorities, and the problem was that it was not really in line with what my soul wanted. I realized more and more that when I was getting something, it was not to really get something substantial, but to feel some sort of emotional void, which in the end caused the spiral of dissatisfaction after. And then very shortly after this, since I have decided to move my life from a regular work to a more spiritual business, I have run out of money. So the little that I have has dried out, because I had to invest everything that I had, time, money, and energy, and make some concessions in order to be able to speak to you guys the way I am right now, and focus my life more towards tarot and astrology, which is a choice that I never regretted and that I fully stand by still today, and it has led me to where I am right now, which is so much of a better place than wherever I was back then. And then this has given me at least a good year and a half of not being able to buy anything. Like, it was this kind of situation that if all my t-shirts burned down, I would be walking around naked, which luckily didn't happen, which is why I was fine. But it made me just realize the void, the emptiness, the toxic destructiveness of the habit of just going into a store and getting something just because it's out there hanging. Now, very sadly, this is what most of the modern consumption is based on. It's based on you impulsively going into a store and filling an emotional void with another item of poor quality clothing. Like, this is just the reality of the fashion business nowadays, is that this is what it wants you to do, without realizing that you're just wasting your energy and putting it down the drain, and participating in a cycle of cruel abuse of employees located probably somewhere in Southeast Asia. Now, what this has taught me is that through the scarcity that I have received, it has taught me to value every little item that I owned. It has taught me, for example, that as much as it is possible, you can repair things. Okay, it's true that if you've been wearing cheap quality jeans for some time, they get they rub on your thighs to the extent that sewing them becomes impossible because the fabric is completely worn out. But so many people throw something away just because it has a tiny hole that they could sew, and believe me, I am no sewing expert, so if I can fix a small hole, then so can you. And it also has made me make a vow that from this point on, whenever I purchase something, I will be looking very precisely at the tag of the item, at where it has been made and what it has been made of. As a result, I have completely stopped going to fast fashion stores. Even when I would have some money to spend on there, I just wouldn't do it. Now, what is it that you can take away from all of this for yourself, especially when you don't have many resources? So what you can do is, first of all, find local sellers. You can find them on Etsy, but also in real life. For example, I know that in my town there are local fairs a couple of times a year in the market square, and there you can find actually quality local sellers that often come from small villages and they operate from there. Often they ship their clothes even internationally if they're on Etsy, or they at least ship them in your country. And these people, they make clothes from organic fabrics, and the prices, they may be slightly higher than some fast fashion items, but honestly, it's not that expensive, you know? Like, I know that probably the first instinct, let's say that you strike it rich one day and then you think about the designer brands. But the truth is that very often the designer brands also produce things that are of not that much of a good quality. Like, you know, polyester right now is everywhere, which basically is an equivalent of putting a plastic bag on whatever body part you're dressing at the moment. So the key is not the brand or even the price, because you can find very overpriced things that hide the reality of very poor quality underneath the expensive price tag and the fancy name. There are some things that, you know, that you just have to figure out yourself. For example, I have this gift that when I touch the fabric, I can pretty much sense the texture of it, and I can just tell if it's good or not. I always could do that well. I don't know how it was. It's some sort of high society past life habit, because God knows I haven't been able to get the skill in this life. But I have the skill, so, you know, I use it. When I touch the fabric, I can just tell that it's good. I cannot stress enough the importance of making the choice and the commitment to have fewer things but of better quality, because the truth is that you really don't need a new top every month. You don't need to clean out your whole closet 4 times a year, because new season in, new season out. I honestly think it's just wasteful, and it doesn't really get anyone anywhere, you know. Like, the best thing you can do for yourself is to build I think nowadays it's called a capsule wardrobe. It's really trendy on YouTube nowadays. Like, build a basic wardrobe of the things that are really your style, that you can pretty much use for many seasons, and there are some extra things that you can only use on a particular season. Like, of course, everyone needs a winter coat or a summer dress to survive the heat. Now, what fabrics do I personally use? My favorite one is linen, which you can see here. Now, what I like about this fabric is that it's extremely durable. Once I tried to remove a stain by hand washing it, because I was trying to be gentle, and what happened is that the fabric was completely fine, but my fingers were bleeding. Like, this fabric is, especially when it's thicker, is so tough and coarse that it just, it survives a lot. Especially if you treat it well, and it survives even more. So I would say that different thickness of linen depending on the season is my favorite one. And the sellers of this one on Etsy or local, they are plentiful. You can find them anywhere. Now, why is it that I wanted to make this sort of video on my channel that after all is about spirituality? The reason for that is I believe that, first of all, by listening to my advice in this video, you gain the freedom of choice. The freedom of choice as to what you want to get for yourself, instead of being influenced by what the world tells you that you should be choosing. You can be someone who is conscious of their own choices and how their own energy through money is spent. And the other reason is also I believe that what your skin touches also influences how you feel and your vibration. So if you wear natural fabrics that are breathable, it's naturally going to also raise your level of comfort and put you in a better mind state. And I think that so many people are completely not even stopping to ask themselves what they are wearing. Like, they don't have the awareness that just by putting on this piece of clothing, they're putting a plastic bag, especially for women. Often they're women's underwear. That means that it's an equivalent of putting a plastic bag in the most delicate part of their bodies, which is not good, you know, as you can imagine. And that creates a whole chain of health problems for people. So I really would like people to be aware of that. I would like to change the conviction that you really have to be extremely wealthy to be able to achieve that. No, you don't. All you have to do is some discipline. You put some money aside, especially if you want to get something more expensive like a winter coat. But how many winter coats are you gonna get? If you have 2, you have plenty, honestly. And if you start putting the money aside, then you surely can get enough for a good winter coat. if you sum up all the money that you have wasted in a fast fashion store to get something on impulse, I am sure that by forsaking those purchases, you would have surely accumulated enough to get a quality item, right? And I think that you know that too. It's just a question of commitment and a question of saying no when you pass through these kind of stores in real life. Honestly, this has also made me not even visit these kind of stores that much anymore in real life, because I kind of feel like I have very little to do there anymore, you know, like there's just nothing there that attracts me, because there is basically nothing there that offers any sort of quality. And you owe it to yourself to take care of yourself, right? If you already spend your energy and money on something, then it might as well be something that was done in decent conditions by actual people who make their living like this, honestly, for example, through Etsy. This way you can really avoid the trap of paying for this item, and then after a month you can see that the newness has worn off and you wish that you wouldn't have gotten it after all. So after almost 2 years of living like this, I still can't tell that my closet is 100% satisfactory. Why? Because if you already bought something, if you already have it and it's not destroyed anyway, if it actually survived, then, you know, keep on wearing it. I am not really encouraging you here to, like, you know, go from 0 to 100 and throw everything away. Because, you know, again, there is no point in wasting what you've already put your energy or money into. The point is to, as things wear out, keep changing them, keep exchanging them into more quality items. Although honestly what's happening is that I keep choosing the things that are actually made from better fabrics, and when all of these have to be washed, only then I wear the ones of the lower quality. So kind of what happened is that I honestly got only a couple of items, and even then I only choose those because I just feel more comfortable in them. So also give yourself time, you know, and be gentle with yourself about this, and don't rush into it, and understand that it's a process. It's a process that hopefully I have invited you to participate in by making this video. Thank you if you have stayed with me until the end, and if you have any questions, all my contact info is down below. I am also an astrologer and a tarot reader, and if you want a private reading with me, you can find all my contact info down below. And as you can see, I post on my channel regularly. There is no specific schedule, but I post, you know, all the time. I always come back to my channel, and I will keep coming back to it, since this is what I do in life. And thank you again to all the new subscribers and all those who have watched and liked my videos, because I'm really happy to see, even to see 1,000 views. To me, this is so much, and I will also definitely make a video when I get to some sort of big subscriber milestone that is worth talking about. So thank you guys so much again, and I wish you good luck on your own journey with conscious consumption. And see you guys. Bye.